The views and opinions expressed by the guest speaker on this episode are solely those of the guest. The content shared is intended for informational purposes only and should not be construed as professional advice or endorsement.
Hello, my name is Judith Whatley and I am an academic reflexologist, which means that I'm a reflexologist, but I've also taught in academic institutions, namely Cardiff Metropolitan University, where I taught complementary therapies to degree level. I've also taught research methods and developed research into reflexology. I'm going to talk to you about the therapy today. You may have heard of it, you may not. It's principally a complementary therapy which works on pressure points, mainly on the feet, but also in the hands and sometimes the ears. It developed in America in the 1920s and 30s, first called zone therapy, and this was discovered by an ear, nose and throat surgeon by the name of Dr. William Fitzgerald, who used implements and tools on various parts of the body to elicit pain relief and the relief of symptoms, a variety of conditions. Now, this was developed into reflexology, first called compression massage in America, first by Dr. Joe Shelby Riley, who worked with Fitzgerald, and he produced the first chart of the feet, which segmented each part of the foot into different areas. Now, the theory behind reflexology is that every part of the body is reflected in the feet. And this means that from the elbow all the way to internal organs, there is an area of the foot that reflects that part of the body. Now, Eunice Ingham was an American who then took Riley's ideas to a new level, and she's widely called the mother of reflexology because she really developed the first chart of reflexology that was accessible to the man in the street, if you like. And she did a lot of touring around America, lecturing about the benefits of reflexology. And she really brought it into the 20th century. It has developed quite a lot since the days of Eunice Ingham. And now I'm glad to say we do have some research, some evidence base to support the usefulness of reflexology for a variety of things. So I want you to imagine that you are having a session of reflexology. Generally, in a reflexology session, you would lay down on a couch or on a chair with your feet up. You would have your shoes and socks removed, and then the reflexologist would work on your feet, first by holding them, and then by working with thumb and finger techniques, which access very small areas of the feet. They'd work from the toes down the sole of the feet, on the top of the feet, what we would call the dorsal side, and also on the medial edge of the feet. Now, the medial edge of the feet are the inside edges, if you like, just under the big toe. And this area, if you look at your foot, it has a particular curve that mimics the curve of the spine. Now, the spinal reflexes on the foot are to be found on this medial edge of the foot. So if you ever have any backache, you may find that parts of the arch of the foot are aching. And if you take your foot, if you're able to get it across your knee and have a little poke around that arch on your foot, then you'll find a little sore area. And if you were to rub that, then you may well get some pain relief into your stiff or sore back. So it's something that everybody can do for themselves. First aid in the feet is something that we reflexologists would recommend. There's a lot talked about reflexology being therapy for relaxation. And it is indeed a therapy for relaxation in the sense that you are lying down for perhaps 45 minutes to an hour. And this is going to cause you to rest and take time for yourself. So that in itself is going to help you to relax. Add in the therapist's hold of the feet, the fact that you will feel warm and comfortable and comforted by that therapeutic touch. and then add in the very specific pressure points that the therapist will use to access different areas of the body. Very often the reflexologist will say to you, do you have any particular areas of concern, any aches and pains? And then she can target those areas of the feet according to the reflexology map. Often she will find, I'm referring to the she pronouns, she will access parts of the feet that the client has told her about and look for the sore areas. So if there is a sore area, then the reflexologist will work this area gently. And what the client may often find is that there's a pain relief aspect to the treatment. So the reflexology can relax the client. It can cause the client to fall into a deep sleep. It can also give pain relief. Now, all of these things may be self-evident. If you have a nice lie down and somebody is giving you some nice, gentle therapeutic touch, then you can understand that is going to help you feel better in a range of ways. But what does the research say? And when I first started to train in reflexology, I kept asking my tutor, how does it work? Because I first came to reflexology because I was having some issues of my own, and these were menstrual issues. And within a couple of treatments, these problems had just gone away when they had been with me for some time. And I couldn't understand how having your feet rubbed and massaged in a particular way could have this effect. So I kept asking people, how does it work? What's happening here? And nobody could tell me. So even when I trained, my tutor still couldn't tell me exactly what was going on. Now, my previous career before I was a reflexologist, I worked in the IT industry as a logic person. And so I was used to having answers, and I made it my job to figure out exactly what was going on. Because when I started working in reflexology, all sorts of conditions were improving when I was treating people. And so I was fortunate enough to be offered the position of tutor at a university, which gave me access to a great deal of research resources. And so I was able to find out what research had been done in reflexology and what evidence there was for both the effects of the therapy and also the mechanism that underpins the therapy. Because lots of people will say, oh, it's just the placebo effect. And there's certainly an element of that in any treatment room. When you go in for reflexology, you're going to find a comfortable, warm couch. You'll perhaps have some nice aromas in the air. You'll have perhaps some gentle music playing. And all of these contribute to a placebo effect of environment. So if you feel relaxed in that environment, then parts of your physical and mental health start to correct. Now, there are lots of different types of reflexology. There's quite gentle reflexology. There's quite firm reflexology. There's short sessions of 5 or 10 minutes. There's vertical reflexology, which is done in people who are wheelchair bound or who are standing up. So there's lots of different types of reflexology, and they all have different ways of working on the body. I'll give you an example of a deep technique, a twisting technique then, where you hold the foot in a particular way and you're creating a torsion and then a release effect. That works on the fascia of the body. Whereas there are the placebo effects, which I've just talked about, the environmental placebo effects. That works in a different way. And then light touch reflexology, which encourages sleep and encourages the correction of anxiety or sleeplessness or having time for yourself. That works in a different way also. Then there's also the blood flow technique, where you're working with the movement of blood flow. So I just want to finish up by saying that reflexology is a very powerful, profound complementary therapies that can help people of all ages and all conditions. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Try and have a look for some of the papers if you need to know more. And thank you so much for listening.